Hi, this is Bill. So on this demo, right, so we will be using reusable code to implement client scripts and also Ajax. And as we implement this client script, you will see, right, on change of description, right, it will take the parameters of the different fields in the form using client script and pass it to the server side. And eventually, we created some debugging features in the form so you could see the status and success of our implementation. Now, let us start with the client script that we created. So eventually, I created it as Service Bus GlideAjax. So basically, because we are implementing Service Bus, right, as if you've been following along on the different service architectures or service-oriented architecture that we have implemented, and now we are basically using a service bus to unify the different service in a single implementation. Now let us expand the code on how we basically implemented the client script with integration to script includes. And of course, now we basically standardized a client-side entity. So we established incident entity class to basically standardize the parameters on passing to the server side. And secondly, we created this UI script. So we created two UI scripts, right? So one is an object, right, to establish the blueprint from the client side. And second is a reusable code, right? So where will now be exciting. We created an Ajax client side to pass the parameters and send a request, right, to the server side. As you can see, that the incident data, right, is passed as a parameter into the function, and we are also declaring what action and also the callback, right? So what do I mean by that? So let's go to the UI script that I created where you could basically see and where the magic begins, right? So now I created a function inside the UI script named Ajax client, and you will see that this function, right, of Ajax client will pass reusable parameters, right? And instantiating the GlideAjax class, right? Now you can see that I could pass any type of Ajax processor. And from there, I could process any type of backend code, a reusable action name, and also passing any type of payload. So instead of like parameterizing the fields from the client side going to the server side, it gives you the flexibility to call any type of class and any type of function. In addition, also at any structure of data that could be submitted in any type of service. So now that the payload is stringified, it's now basically encapsulated into a single string. And before we move to the server side, I want to show you the rest of the code for your picture. And let's move to the incident entity. And this is the client entity that I've created, right, to standardize the fields and the object from the client side going to the server side. And now let's go to IncidentAjax that we've created, and you will see that inside the IncidentAjax, so let's expand the code. So we are extending from a BaseAjaxProcessor because the Ajax processor, which is using object that extends object, is quite stiff and tightly coupled. So I need to put something on top, which is the BaseAjaxProcessor. But before we go deeper on the BaseAjaxProcessor, we call this function from the client side create incident. So now you could be doing a creates, a get, an update from the server. And now you can see that a reusable payload, right, can be passed, and that raw payload now can be sent to be processed on this process request. Now basically I am passing this to the base class, which is BaseAjaxProcessor, and you will see that I can send any type of service, any type of function, and also a payload that be deconstructed once I go to the injected service. Now, before we go to the incident service class, right, so I want you to observe, right, so how I created this technology techniques, right? As we declare this incident Ajax layer, right, from a client side, now we went to a server side, and now we are going to the base Ajax processor, right? So now it is inheriting from the abstract Ajax processor, right, as a base class. And you will see that earlier we passed the service class, the function name, and the row payload. And as we pass the service class, you will see on line 22 that it can be any type of object. And as a response, right, we have the service instantiated on the service class that we pass as a function. And from there, the service plus the function name and the payload will be processed by your declared service class. So now it gives you the flexibility of any type of service class communicating both from the server side, going to the client side, vice versa. And as you can see, as we get the response and we stringify it and ensure it is returned with the correct structure. And now let us show you the incident service. As you can see, now we have basically declared the incident service, used the function, and passed the payload. Since we have structured the payload in a specific blueprint from the client side, which is incident entity, we also have a matching object on the server side that will capture the payload to its corresponding fields. Now that the payload has been parsed to its correct format, now the entity is passed to the repository to make its call to the database. And now let us move forward to the incident entity that we have created on the server side. So we have both sides of the coin. The client side, which is the UI script, we have implemented incident entity, and also the server side, which is the model, also implementing incident entity. So from one end, which is the UI or the client side, we are passing a payload, a reusable payload that can receive any type of structure. And now we have basically implemented the structure and correctly converted from a payload to a specific object type. Now we could now process the fields in the incident repository. So in this example, basically, as we pass the incident entity into the function, right, calling create incident, our purpose here is to create an incident in the glide record. So as we do the insert, you can see that the parameters is passed successfully based on its design. And after successful creation, we are now returning the sysID back to the client side. And this could be any code, right? So we use the repository pattern on the incident service since our purpose is to make database calls. So it could be a create, update, and so on. But you can reuse this service-oriented design architecture in implementing different functionalities. It could be an integration to a third-party solution, to add another example. So each capability becomes a service. And as you build that service, you ensure reliability of your code and also reusability. That's why we created the BaseAjax class that you saw here, right? And you will see that it can receive any type of class, any type of function, and also with payload. So it gives you that flexibility and a fully decoupled, reusable code that could receive any type of Ajax processing. And finally, I would like to show you the BaseLogger. So in software architecture, you ensure a fully functional code implementing solid design patterns as a base minimum using object-oriented design. And of course, you implement reliability to your code, and it gives you the ability to log every step of the way, making your life easier instead of like debugging line per line of your code and finding errors. And as we have implemented this logging function in ServiceNow centrally or globally, we have reused this implementation. And as we move forward to the system logs, you will see that every step of the way, right, is recorded, ensuring that you have full record that each step of the way is successful. If there's any failure, it will give you immediate answers on how to fix it. So just to give you a recap, what we have just discussed is we have implemented reusable code in combination of GlideAjax, client scripts, both using script includes and UI scripts. Thank you so much for watching, and watch for more for techniques in design patterns, software architecture using JavaScript techniques in the ServiceNow platform. Thank you so much.